He stands center stage, a scruffy, fragile figure with a mass of unkempt curls and ill-fitting clothes, looking like a woe-begone hobo. But this unlikely superstar balladeer from America's heartland has influenced several generations like no artist before or since, with his soaring lyrical poetry, unbridled honesty, and incomparable creative spirit. Robert Allen Zimmerman was born on May 24, 1941 in Duluth, Minnesota, into a hard-working family of second-generation Russian Jewish immigrants. He decided to make his entrance into the world feet first, all but declaring the rebel defiance that would be the trademark of both his remarkable life and art. His father Abe worked for Standard Oil until he and wife Betty pulled up roots 6 years later and moved to the remote, undistinguished mining town of Hibbing on the Mesabi Iron Range near the Canadian border. There Abe ran a hardware store while Betty worked in a clothing store owned by her mother's family. Together with Bob's younger brother David, the Zimmermans began to live out their piece of the American middle-class dream. Young Bobby was gifted and bright, but with a restless spirit. He was easily bored with the endless toys, sporting equipment, and summer vacation camps his parents indulged him with. It didn't take long before this pampered son of a prospering businessman became aware that he was very much an outsider amongst the blue-collar, largely uneducated Iron Rangers who worked the local mines. Alienated from his peers, Bob would spend hours by himself honing his introspective nature. He would sketch and paint, write poetry, and wander down the railroad tracks, yearning to hop a boxcar and make a romantic getaway from the cultural isolation of his bleak surroundings. "You can stand at one end of Hibbing and see clear past the city limits to the other," he once observed. The radio became his constant companion, and the plaintive voice of country western legend Hank Williams, crooning out haunting themes of mortality and despair, formed his first important musical influence. As a boy, Dylan was unsure in which direction life would take him. The day he discovered music, however, the world around him forever changed.
I can't really say, what led me to. I can only say that I look to do a lot of things, I'm one of these people that thinks that everybody has certain gifts, when they're born, and get enough trouble trying to find out just what it is. I figured first it was, I used to play the guitar when I was 10, so I figured, well, maybe my thing is playing the guitar. Maybe that's my little gift, like somebody can make a cake, or somebody else can saw a tree down. And I am saying that this is exactly what my gift is. Maybe I got a better gift.
Reaching his teens, the adolescent Zimmerman, now a dynamo of raw energy and imagination, found more powerful channels of escape in music and the movies. For hours he would wail away on the piano and create songs from stories which sprang into his head. At the local state theater owned by his uncles, the spellbound dreamer indulged his fantasies in cool matinee heroes Montgomery Clift and Humphrey Bogart. It was the watershed year 1955 when the 14-year-old's world was riveted by the primordial image of James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, the classic coming-of-age film. As for so many young Turks of his generation, for Bob it was an epiphany, and Dean's Jim Stark in Rebel Without a Cause was the first of many personas he would adopt. Zimmerman abandoned his khaki chinos and neat polo shirts for a black leather jacket, tight blue jeans, and boots, and entered Hibbing High with a greaser attitude that shocked the conservative student body. The cornerstone of this transformation was the stirring new music seeping up from the Deep South, led by the gospel rock wailings of Little Richard. Suddenly, Robert Zimmerman had found his direction in rock and roll. Bob soon got his hands on every rock record he could find and was itching to start his own band. After tracking down a drummer and guitarist among his classmates, Bob formed a trio called the Golden Chords, and their first gig was the Hibbing High Jacket Jamboree. Performing in the school auditorium before the entire student body, the diminutive pianist played with such abandon and deafening intensity, he managed to break the sustain pedal on the school's prize Steinway. Outraged, school authorities outlawed the group, and the Golden Chords were forced to play thereafter in only basements and garages. To many locals, Robert Zimmerman, the middle-class merchant's son, was now a pariah who played the devil's music. By graduation, he knew it was time to move on. Beneath his yearbook photo, he wrote, "Gone to join Little Richard." That fall of 1959, Bob traded his piano for a Silverstone guitar from Sears and Roebuck, changed his name to Dylan, and took off down Highway 61 for the big city of Minneapolis. Officially enrolled in the University of Minnesota's liberal arts program, Dylan wasn't really much of a student. Instead, he immersed himself in the city's Dinkytown district, a kind of New York Soho on the fringe of town where the new beat culture was thriving. It was a brave new world for a kid fresh off the Great Plains. For the first time, Dylan found kindred spirits and debated the social and political issues of the day. In this hip new setting, Dylan could be anyone he wanted and wove several convincing tales about his colorful upbringing as an oaky drifter right out of the Grapes of Wrath or a young carnival roustabout. For a time, he even pretended to be Bobby V, the musician who fronted Buddy Holly's band after his death. Dylan remembers an early encounter with his bespectacled boyhood idol, Buddy Holly.
One time when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I went to see Buddy Holly play at Duluth National Guard Armory, and I was 3 feet away from him, and he looked at me.
Dylan found his first real home in the Dinkytown coffee houses like the 10 O'Clock Scholar and Purple Onion, where he could spontaneously get up and recite poetry or strum a guitar. It was here the wannabe musician would temporarily put away rock and roll and slip into a form-fitting mold of a folk singer. His new heroes were musical giants like Leadbelly, Robert Johnson, Odetta, people who really lived the blues. In this often dark, down-in-the-soul music, Dylan could identify with the pain of alienation, rejection, and loneliness. Back then, people called his performances magnetic, tempered by a charming, naive humor borrowed from his comedy idol, Charlie Chaplin. In 1960, a college professor handed the edgy sophomore a book that would change his life, Bound for Glory, Woody Guthrie's stirring 1943 autobiography. This torrid tale of a Dust Bowl drifter crisscrossing the American landscape with its touchstones of poverty, freedom, and human dignity contained all of Dylan's fantasies come to life. Bob became so obsessed that he read the book until he wore off the cover and taught himself 200 of Guthrie's prolific song catalog. At one point, he even became Woody, talking, singing, and even acting like the legendary folk musician. Armed with an inspiring new persona, in January 1961, Dylan bid farewell to Minnesota, bound for the bright lights of New York. Guthrie was living in the Big Apple, and young Dylan was determined to meet him. The budding musician didn't take long to track down his idol. Guthrie, in the final debilitating stages of his battle with Huntington's disease, was confined to a hospital bed. An enthusiastic Dylan burst into the room and within minutes was serenading the withering legend. The two got on like old friends, and Bob even penned a tribute to his idol, Song to Woody.
Well, I didn't take off for the hospital there. I was around the country before that, and I'd heard of Woody. I knew Woody. I saw Woody once a long, long time ago in Burbank, California, which was I was just a little boy. I don't even remember seeing him, you know. And I heard him play. I think I must have been about 10. It stuck in my mind that he was Woody. Everybody else I could see around me was just everybody else.
With his Gibson flat top slung over his shoulder, the nobody newcomer instantly gravitated towards the bastion of bohemian culture, Greenwich Village. The folk music scene was thriving, and he performed in the countless, cramped, dingy coffee houses called basket houses, which were cropping up almost daily. It was here Dylan polished his raspy, guttural delivery and unique phrasing that burst the seams of traditional purist folk. In this repertoire of Guthrie standards, Dylan boldly infused elements of blues and rock, his voice sandpapery tremors over syncopating guitar licks. No one had ever heard anything like it. The sassy young gunslinger was quietly changing all the rules. In this never-before-heard clip, Dylan describes his earliest poverty-stricken days playing the homegrown clubs of the East Village.
I used to play in a place called Cafe Wa. It used to open at noon, and it closed at 6 in the morning. And it was just a non-stop flow of people. There used to be maybe 5 groups that played there. I used to play with a guy called Fred Neal, who wrote the song Everybody's Talking. Fred was, I don't know where he's from, I think he was from Florida. But he had a songwriting deal with in Nashville. So he used to make that theme from Coconut Grove to Nashville to New York. And he had a strong, powerful voice, and he had almost a bass voice, and a powerful sense of rhythm. And he used to play most of the songs that somebody like Joshua would play. And I would just play harmonica with him once in a while, get to sing a song, which would be, when he was taking a break or something. And so I'd get to sing a song once and play the harmonica the rest of the time. That was him. That was his show. And he'd be on for maybe a half hour. And then a conga drum group would get on called the Los Congueros, and with 20 conga drum players and bongos and steel drums. And they would play for, maybe a half hour. And then this girl, I think her name was Judy Rainey. She used to play sweet Southern Mountain Apache, Appalachian ballads with electric guitar and a small amplifier. And then another guy used to sing on there named Hal Waters, who used to sort of be a crooner. He used to sing kind of like Leon Bibb. He used to sing. And then it'd be a comedian. And he'd go up for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then an impersonator. And that would be the whole show. That would be like this unit would just go around nonstop. So you'd know where you went on, after whoever it was. And the comedian, I think, only did until he was hooted off the stage. If they didn't like you back then, you couldn't play. If they liked you played more. If they didn't like you didn't play at all. You played one or two songs, and people would just boo or hiss or something. I never started playing my own stuff until much later.
In the village, Dylan met his first serious girlfriend, Susie Rotolo, an articulate, well-read 17-year-old who could quote the French poets and worked in the rising civil rights movement. Under her influence, Dylan began to tackle issues of prejudice and injustice in his increasingly sophisticated compositions. In September 1961, Dylan caught his first big break when folk artist Carolyn Hester tapped him to contribute a harmonica lick on her upcoming album. This caught the attention of Columbia Records talent director John Hammond, who predicted, "This kid's going to be bigger than Elvis," and promptly signed the artist to a 5-year contract. Dylan's first self-titled album, released in March of 1962, featured several folk standards plus 2 originals, Song to Woody and Talkin' New York Blues. The work failed miserably, selling a dismal 2,400 copies, and it seemed his career was doomed before it even began. The following year, however, all that changed in dramatic fashion. A concert at New York's Town Hall on April 12th proved a defining showcase for the modest Midwest musician and drew sterling reviews from top critics. On another front, his civil rights anthem Blowin' in the Wind became a hit for pop folksters Peter, Paul, and Mary, while his own follow-up album, The Freewheeling Bob Dylan, was released with such standouts as the darkly brilliant Masters of War and the commercial hit Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Bob Dylan was already being touted as the finest folk artist the country had ever produced. The fledgling star took folk around a new bend to protest music. His highly original compositions were filled with stirring calls to activism like Oxford Town and With God on Our Side. No longer dating Susie Rotolo, Dylan was now both romantically and professionally involved with Joan Baez, the couple soon reigning as the king and queen of folk. Together they performed at protest rallies and benefits highlighted by the 1964 Civil Rights March on Washington. As the mid-'60s ushered in arguably the most enriching and productive period in all of contemporary music, Dylan was at the forefront, the curly-mopped Pied Piper leading the cultural parade. With his 5th release, Bringing It All Back Home, the young visionary poet was hitting his stride. Anchored by the impressionistic Mr. Tambourine Man, a mega hit for the Byrds, the work was awash with alliteration and vivid imagery like the Jingle Jangle Morning and My Magic Swirling Ship. In hindsight, a close listen to the album could have foreshadowed another abrupt turn in the road no one saw coming. When Dylan took the stage at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival on July 25th, he was playing electric guitar. Shockwaves rippled over the crowd. Dylan had not only broken the rules of the festival, but the hearts of folk purists everywhere. The crown prince of folk had gone electric. But Dylan wasn't about to back down to anyone, and only a month later performed at New York's Forest Hills Stadium with Fender Telecaster in hand. Once again, some disappointed fans vented their fury, but Bob held his ground, and by the end of the night had them cheering this dramatic new fusion. That summer, his latest single, Like a Rolling Stone, with its grinding organ and harmonica tandem, a masterful testament of self-realization, bolted to the top of the charts. Included on his Highway 61 Revisited album, this groundbreaking new hybrid, now called folk rock, was then taken even further by the Beatles' Rubber Soul. Highway 61 was hailed as an instant masterpiece. Here he is again probed for his definition of so-called protest music, as well as wondering about the origins of his professional name, his feelings on drugs, his favorite records, and a lot of other basically silly questions to which Dylan quite reasonably gives silly answers. What is amazing is that the assembled reporters are so square they don't even particularly realize that he is putting them on. This encounter took place in Los Angeles in 1965.
All the attention has been given to everybody that looks, that has long hair. It's a protest singer, but the truth of the matter is really that the protest singers really are, Edie Gourmet and Robert Goulet, Steve Lawrence. Well, it's very obvious, if you go beyond the word of just protest.
What does the word protest mean to you?
To me, it means singing, you don't really want to sing.
It means what?
It means singing against your wishes to sing.
Do you sing against your wishes?
No.
Well, do you sing protest songs?
No.
What do you sing?
No, I sing all love songs.
Bob, I'd like to make a comment about several statements that have been made by the critics. Is it true that you changed your name, and if so, what was your real name?
My real name was Knezevich, and I changed it to avoid obvious relatives that come up to you in different parts of the country, and my tickets to concerts and stuff like that, huh? Knezevich, yes.
That's the first or the last name?
That was the first name. I don't even want to tell you what the last name is.
Some of your critics say that you have no real purpose in mind when you write a song except to shock people. Is that true?
No, that's not true. You've heard the songs, haven't you?
Yes.
Well, that's not true then.
I think Puff the Magic Dragon and the Tambourine Man were considered by some to be endorsements of marijuana smoking.
Well, I didn't write Puff the Magic Dragon. That's horrible. That's whatever that is. I didn't write that. And Mr. Tambourine Man, there's no marijuana in that song. I never heard it before.
Do you have a music background, or what is your education?
Same as everybody's, high school.
Bob, if we were to put a label, or you were to put a label upon yourself, how would you characterize yourself? What kind of singer are you?
I'm more a mathematical singer. I use words like most people use numbers. That's about the best I can do.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? You're losing me again.
Oh, I hate to do that. I can't elaborate on it any more than that. I could at another time. You really got me in a bad moment here.
Bob, you and Joan Baez have become heroes of the youth protest movement on college
So, David.
campuses. I'd like to get your reaction to the student protest movement, and whether, a two-part question. The second part is whether you believe that there is a connection between the so-called new left and the so-called new music.
I don't know anything about new left or students very much at all. I don't really know any college students.
I have a complaint against your vocals, and I hear others, and I read criticisms.
Sorry.
It's very hard to distinguish your words. kind of mumble or you sort of slur.
Yeah,
And in the old days, you know, Sinatra on his 50th birthday was complaining also about the new modern singers, the enunciation of dictions.
well, the new modern singers are much too sick nowadays to.
Well, how about yourself? Are you sick in the same way? In terms of not comprehending the words and lyrics of your...
I have a nervous disease, and this keeps my words. I mean, if you want to pick on that, you know, and but like you pick on a cripple or somebody, you know, that's a different thing.
You're not the only one, of course. It's modern style. I'm just curious, you know.
There certainly isn't any style that's you know harmful to anybody.
Well,
It's not going to hurt anybody.
They don't understand the words so easily.
Well, it's not going to hurt them not to understand words.
Bob, why is there such a widespread use of drugs among singers today?
I don't know. Are you a singer?
Am I wrong in assuming that or saying that?
I don't know many of the other singers. I really don't know.
Do you take drugs yourself?
I don't even know what a drug is. I've never even seen a drug. I wouldn't know probably what one looked like if I saw them.
Real way out music and drugs seem to go together. Haven't I any idea why that could be?
I have no idea.
Have you any intention of appearing at a Vietnam Day committee benefit in San Francisco in a week or so?
No, I'll be busy.
Have you been asked?
No.
Bob, what will be the next vogue, in your opinion, in the field of music in which you work?
The next vogue?
What will be the next vogue, the next popular
Next thing I'm going to do?
Anyone. What will catch on, in your opinion?
Gee, I don't know.
What are you going to do next? Something new and different?
Yeah, I'm going to write a symphony. I'm going to write a symphony with words. Different words and songs going at the same time. I don't know if it's going to be vogue.
Can you explain a little bit more how you're going to go about this? Will you have people reciting it all at once, or what?
Yeah, all at once everything's going to happen. Because one song will be playing here in one key, another song will be in another key. There'll be sounds from out this way, and different other sounds from another track. It all depends on how many tracks you decide to use. Use 10 tracks, you can use 10 different things going on at the same time, which is really a symphony.
Bob, what sort of technique do you use when you write songs, or don't you call it any sort of technique? How do you do it? Do you play on the piano first, or write the music down first, or the lyrics? What do you do?
No, I just sit down, and the next thing I know it's there.
How does it come there?
How does it come there? I just sit down and I write, and the next thing I know it's there.
You produce your own records and so forth?
No, I don't.
Who's your favorite producer? Do you have any?
That produces records?
Yeah.
You mean an A&R's then?
Yeah, the one who does the whole job of background and music and instrumentation, orchestra.
I don't know of too many people really that do that. Phil Spector.
Who does yours? Who's yours?
Oh, it's Columbia Records. A fellow named Bob Johnston does it.
Bob what?
Johnston.
Bob Johnston. Very good.
You know him?
No, I don't know him, but he's very good.
Bob, do you have any movie plans coming up in the near future?
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Oh, he's very excited. We'll just make a movie.
Would you play yourself, or would you actually act? Be something different than you
I'm going to play my mother.
How would you do that? How would you do that?
How would I do that?
Yeah.
That's very simple, really, if you think about it.
Would you think about it and tell us?
No. I just do things. I don't think at all.
What would you call the movie? Any idea?
No. Oh, Mother Revisited.
As the sad-eyed, reluctant father of the hippie movement, Bob Dylan was an excellent choice. Dylan made you think, not necessarily about what he was saying, but rather how what he was saying affected you. Though while millions were touched, you sitting at home in your bedroom somehow felt he was singing only to you, the true hallmark of any great artist. Throughout the years, Dylan has seldom deigned to meet the press, but early on at the tail end of 1966, he changed the rules yet again and sat down in a TV studio in the company of Allen Ginsberg, Fillmore East founder Bill Graham, and hipster manager Albert Grossman, and talked and talked and talked. Taken at its highest level, this is nothing less than a manifesto for the great hippie revolution poised to roll over Western culture. At his most modest, old Bob was simply goofing on a room of media squares assigned to cover the event. Either way, what follows is not only hilariously funny at times, but also an important precursor to the marvelous double-edged lunacy that would soon find a home in Haight-Ashbury, London's King's Road, and the East Village of New York.
Welcome to the first KQED Poets Conference. Press conference. Mr. Dylan is a poet. He will answer questions about everything from atomic science to riddles and rhymes. Go.
Oh my
Who's
God.
first? Come on. I'd like to know about the cover of your forthcoming album. The one with subterranean music blues in it. I'd like to know about the meaning of the photograph with you wearing a Triumph T-shirt.
What would you want to know about it?
Well, I'd like to know that's an equivalent photograph. It means something. It's got a philosophy in it. And I'd like to know visually what it represents to you, because you're a part of that.
I haven't really looked at it that much.
I've thought about it a great deal.
It was just taken one day when I was sitting on the steps, you know. I don't really remember very too much about it.
But what about the motorcycle as an image in your songwriting? You seem to like that.
Oh, we all like motorcycles to some degree.
I do.
Do you think of yourself primarily as a singer or as a poet?
No, I think of myself more as a song and dance man, you know.
What?
Song and dance man.
Why?
Oh, I don't think we have enough time to really go into that.
You're quoted in the Chicago Daily News as saying that when you're really wasted, you may enter into another field. How wasted is really wasted, and do you foresee it?
No, I don't foresee it, but it's more or less like a ruthless type of feeling. Very ruthless and intoxicated to some degree.
It's well known the bulk of Dylan's uneasy magic sprang from the inside out. He, of course, took inspiration from the day-to-day particulars of his experiential jurisdiction, but his external inspiration was only atoms of the much bigger truth within himself. And that's the main problem people have in interpreting Dylan's dizzying lyrics. They try to put all the outside pieces together, and they just don't fit. As with Shakespeare, Thurber, Joyce, Lewis Carroll, or even John Lennon, the work is like an iceberg bouncing in the uncharted waters of the creative mind, and one perceives only the tip.
The criticism that you've received for more or less leaving folk music for folk rock hasn't seemed to bother you very much. Do you think you'll stick with folk rock, or are you going on into more writing?
I don't play folk rock.
What would you call your music?
I would call it, I like to think of it more in terms of vision music. It's mathematical music.
Would you say that the words were more important than the music?
The words are just as important as the music. There would be no music without the words.
Which do you do first, ordinarily?
The words.
Do you think there will ever be a time when you will paint or sculpt?
Oh, yes. Oh, sure.
Do you think there'll ever be a time when you'll be hung as a thief?
Can we have a match?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bob, you said when you always do your words first and you think of it as music. When you do the words, can you hear it?
Can I hear
Can you sort of hear what music you want when you do your words?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Do you hear any music before you have words? Do you have any songs that you don't have words to yet?
Sometimes on very gentle instruments, not on the guitar though. Maybe something like the harpsichord or the harmonica or auto harp. I might hear some kind of melody or tune, which I would know the words to put to.
You'd say that?
Yes, not with the guitar though. The guitar is too hard an instrument. I don't really hear many melodies based on the guitar.
Do you sit down just to write a song, or do you just write it on inspiration?
I more or less write it on a lot of things.
What poets do you dig?
Oh, Rambo, I guess, W.C. Fields. The family, you know, the trapeze family in the circus. Smokey Robinson, Allen Ginsberg, Charlie Rich, is a good poet.
In a lot of your songs, you're hard on a lot of people. Like in Like a Rolling Stone, you're pretty hard on the girl. And in Positively Forced, you're pretty hard on the supposed friend. Are you hard on them because you want to torment them, or because you want to change their lives and make them know themselves?
I want to needle them.
Do you still sing your older songs?
No. I just saw a songbook last night. I don't really see too many of those things, but there's a lot of songs in those books I haven't even recorded. You know, I've just written down, you know, and put little tunes to it, and they've published them. I haven't sung them. A lot of the songs I just don't even know anymore, even the ones I did sing. There doesn't seem to be enough time, you know.
Did you change your program when you went to England?
No, I finished it there. That was the end of my older program. I didn't change it. It was developed, and by the time we got there, it was more or less. I knew what was going to happen all the time, you know. I knew how many encores there was, you know, which songs they were going to clap on loudest, and all those kind of things.
On a concert tour like this, do you do the same program night after night?
Well, sometimes it's different. I think we'll do the same one here in this area, though.
Did you in England do any of the songs like Subterranean?
No, I didn't work with the band there.
Will you be working with the band here?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
In a recent Broadside interview, Phil Oakes said you should do films. Do you have any plans to do this?
No, I don't. I do have plans to make a film, but not because anybody said I should do them.
Yeah. How soon will this be?
Next year, probably.
Can you tell us what it'll be about?
It'll be just another song.
You dig flicks. Who are the people making films that you dig particularly?
Truffaut. I really can't think of any more people. You know, Italian movie directors, you know, but not too many people in England or the United States, which I can really think that I would dig.
You did Elton Chaplin as an exit line on one of your concerts once.
I did? That must have been an accident. I have to stay away from that kind of thing. Oh, that's pretty. Well, thank you very much. Was that taken right here with the Polaroid? Good God, I must leave right away.
Sometimes the ad hoc mathematics of popular culture defy even the most elaborate equations. For instance, 4 Beatles plus 5 Rolling Stones plus 1 Jim Morrison plus 5 Moody Blues and 1 Jimi Hendrix certainly equals an exciting new era of freedom, fun, and trippy self-examination, but they could never equal 1 skinny Robert Zimmerman, alias Bob Dylan.
What do you think of people that analyze your songs? Do they usually end up with the same meaning that you wrote? Or
I welcome them with open arms.
University of California mimeographed the lyrics to all the songs on the last album and had a symposium discussing them. Do you welcome that?
Oh, sure. I'm just kind of sad I'm not around to be a part of it, but
it would have been pretty wild if you had done it.
Yeah.
Josh Dunson, in your new book, Freedom in the Air, implies that you have sold out to commercial interests and the topical song movement. Do you have any comments here?
Well, no comments, no arguments, no, I certainly don't feel guilty.
If you were going to sell out to a commercial interest, which one would you choose?
Bob?
Ladies' garments.
Bob, have you worked with any rock and roll groups?
Professionally?
Or just sitting in or on concert tours with them or sitting in with their sessions?
No, I don't usually play too much.
Do you listen to other people's recordings of your songs?
Sometimes. A few of them I've heard. I don't really I don't really come across it that much, so.
Is it a strange experience?
No. It's like more or less like a heavenly kind of thing.
What do you think of Joan Baez's interpretations of your earlier songs?
You mean the one I haven't heard her latest album, or the one before that. I heard one, she does them all right, I think.
What about Colors?
Colors? What do I think of Donovan Colors?
Yeah. Do you think he's a good poet of love ballads?
No. He's a nice guy, though.
I'm shattered.
Huh?
I'm shattered.
Well, you needn't be.
Are there any young folk singers or rock groups that you would recommend for us to hear?
I'm glad you asked that. Oh, yeah, there's the Sir Douglas Quintet. I think are probably the best that are going to have a chance of reaching commercial airwaves. They already have with a couple songs.
What about Paul Butterfield's group?
They're good.
Mr. Dillon, you call yourself a completely disconnected person. Would you like to...
No, I didn't call myself that. They should have drove those words in my mouth. I saw that in the paper.
How would you describe yourself? What is it that you have you analyzed this? Why you appeal to people?
I certainly haven't. No.
Mr. Dillon, I know you dislike labels, and probably rightly so, but for those of us who are well over 30, could you label yourself and perhaps tell us what your role is?
Well, sort of label myself as well under 30. And my role is to, to just stay here as long as I can.
Phil Oakes wrote something in a recent Broadside magazine to the effect that you have twisted so many people's wigs that he feels that it becomes increasingly dangerous for you to perform in public before an audience.
Well, that's the way it goes, you know. I can't apologize, certainly.
Did you envision a time when you would give 5 concerts in one area like this within 10 days?
No. No, this is all very new to me.
If you were draftable at present, do you have any feelings of what your actions might be?
No. I'd probably just do what had to be done.
What would that be?
Well, I don't know. I never really speak in terms of what if, you know, so I don't really know.
It must have been very difficult for your garden variety early 60s record executive or stodgy newspaper man to comprehend Dylan's nagging nasal vocal style, tinny harmonica, or jittery guitar chords. Even today, people love to yammer on about how he can't sing. Setting aside his astounding lyrics for a moment, he not only broke the mold of popular music entertainment, but manufactured a new one into which only he could fit.
You're considered by many people to be symbolic of the protest movement in the country for the young people. Are you going to participate in the Vietnam Day Committee demonstration in front of the Fairmont Hotel tonight?
I'll be busy tonight.
You planning any demonstrations?
Well, we thought of one. We thought of one. I don't know if it could be organized in time.
Could you describe it?
Well, it was a demonstration where I'd make up the cards. You know, they have a group of protesters here, perhaps carrying cards with pictures of Jack of Diamonds on them, an ace of spades on them, pictures of mules, maybe words, and maybe about 30,000 of these things printed up, and just picket. Carry the signs and picket.
What words?
In front of the post office. What?
What words?
All words. Camera. Microphone. Loose. Just words.
Do you consider
names of some famous people. Huh? I'm sorry.
Oh, do you consider yourself a politician?
Do I consider myself a politician? Well, I guess so. I have my own party, though.
Have a name?
No, there's no presidents in the party. There's no presidents or vice presidents or secretaries or anything like that, so it makes it kind of hard to get in.
Is there any right wing or left wing to that party?
No, it's more or less in the center. Kind of on the uppity scale.
Do you think your party's going to end the war with China?
I don't know. I don't know if they have any people over there that it would be in the same kind of party. You know? So it might be kind of hard to infiltrate. I don't think my party would ever be approved by the White House or anything like that.
Anyone else in your party?
Anyone else in this party? No, most of us don't even know each other, you know. It's hard to tell who's in it, who's not in it.
Do you recognize them when you see them?
White House.
Oh, you can recognize the people.
Are there still tickets available for your concerts in this area?
I don't know. I would imagine so. Maybe for some, I guess.
How long do you think before the party will win?
Gee, I don't know. I could answer that, you know, but it would mean something different probably for everybody, so we want to keep away from those kind of things here.
What did you mean when you said, I don't think things can work out previously in Chicago?
I don't know.
Talking about-
What things were we talking about?
You said, I don't think things can turn out. I've accepted it. It's a sadness.
No,
having no
it's not. I don't think things can turn out. I don't think anything you plan ever turns out the way you plan it. That's all.
Is this your philosophy?
No. Doesn't mean anything.
Do you think that it's fun to put on an audience?
I don't know. I've never done it.
I think there's a song called Baby, You've Been On My Mind. You didn't record it. No. Do you sing it in concert? Have you?
No, I haven't.
Practically speaking, Dylan was and is a turbulent one-man species. It's difficult to imagine how Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman could have entangled their genes together to concoct such a creature. Actually, on second thought, perhaps a balding furniture store proprietor and community-conscious housewife from the stucco and Formica Badlands of Middle America might just be right after all.
Are the concerts fun still?
Yeah. Concerts are much more fun than they used to be.
Do you consider them more important than your albums, for instance?
No. It's just a kick to do it now. The albums are the most important.
Because they reach more people?
No, because it's all concise, very concise. And it's easy to hear the words and everything. There's no chance of the sound interfering. Whereas in the concerts, we've played some concerts where sometimes they have very bad halls, and microphone systems, so it's not that easy for somebody to come and just listen to a band as if they were listening to one person,
Will you make all those lyrics of songs available in a book sometime?
Oh, they all are, yeah. They all are.
You say you no longer sing your older songs. Do you consider them less valid than the ones you're putting out now?
No, I just consider them something else in themselves, for another time, another dimension. It would be kind of dishonest for me to sing them now, because I wouldn't really feel like singing them.
What is the strangest thing that ever happened to you?
You're gonna get it, man.
But what is the weirdest thing that ever
as a
happened?
friend. I'll talk to you about it later. I wouldn't do that to you.
The fact is, Bob Dylan is no fan of the media and generally dislikes the apparent uselessness of one-on-one interviews. Here he discusses his feelings on the subject.
Have you found that the texts of the interviews with you, which have been published, are accurate to the actual conversations?
No, that's another reason for I don't really give press interviews or anything, because, even if you do something, there are a lot of people here so they know what's going on, but if you just do it with one guy or a few guys, they just take it all out of context, They just take it, split it up in the middle, or just take what they want to use, and they ask you a question and you answer it, and then it comes out in print that they just substitute another question for your answer. That makes you just sound like the way it's not really truthful, to do that kind of thing. So I just don't do it. That's just a press problem there.
You think the entire text of your news conference today should be printed in the paper?
Oh, no, nothing like that. Nothing like that, but this is just for the interviews. When they do interviews in places like Omaha and Cincinnati, man, I don't do it, and then they write bad things.
Well, isn't this partly because you're often inaudible, like for most of this dialogue or monologue, you have been inaudible, and now when you're touched personally by the misquotation, your voice rises and we can hear you.
Well, I just realized that maybe the people in the back there can't hear me. That's all.
I was going to ask you whether you're, in your songs you sing out.
Yes, I do.
And whether in your
well, the songs are what I do. You see, the songs is what I do.
Yeah.
Is write the songs and sing them, and perform them. That's what I do. The performing part of it could end. But like I'm going to be writing these songs and singing them in records and I see no end right now. That's what I do. Anything else interferes with it. I mean, anything else trying to get on top of it, making something out of it, which it isn't, it just brings me down. And it's just makes it seem all very cheap.
Well, it made me feel like you were almost doing a kind of penance of silence here.
No.
For the first
I'm not one of those
part,
kind of people at all.
You don't need silence.
No silence. It's always silent where I am.
In this rare piece, Dylan comments on his life on the road circa 1965 and just what it takes to mount a performance for one of the many almost non-stop tours he has embarked upon since he first hit it big in the early 1960s.
Mr. Dillon, when you're on a concert tour, how many people travel in your party? Do you travel alone, or do you have a...
We travel with about 12 people now.
The number of people seem to increase as you make more money.
Oh, yes, of course.
Is that known as Dylan?
Why do you need so many people when you travel on?
Well, we have the band. We have 5 in the group, and we need other things. It's a lot of electronic equipment now, a lot of different things which have to be taken care of, so we need a lot of people. We have 3 road managers and things like that. We don't make any big public presentations, though. Like, we never come into town in the limousines or anything like that. We just go from place to place, and do the shows, that's all.
You fly in your own plane? Do you have a private plane?
Yes.
In nearly every interview Dylan has ever done, he is asked about the creative process he goes through in the composition of his unique work. The only problem is sometimes Dylan's answers are as objectively obtuse as the often complicated, quizzical, multi-level songs he writes.
You have to get in a certain type of mood to write your music.
Yeah, I guess so. A certain type of mood, if you want to call it that.
Do you find that you're perhaps more creative at a certain time of the day?
Yes, I feel that way.
Like a night writer?
I wouldn't say night has anything to do with it.
Have you ever sung with the Beatles?
No. Well, I think we may have messed around in London, but no, I don't think anything serious.
Were you ever to play a dance?
Huh?
Were you ever to play for people to dance?
No. It's not that kind of music. Well, what can I say? You must know more about the music than I do. How long have you been playing it?
Do you find that when you're writing, yes. Do you find that when you're writing that you sort of free associate often?
No, it's all very clear and simple to me. These songs aren't complicated to me at all. I know what they all about. There's nothing hard to figure out for me. I wouldn't write anything I can't really see.
I didn't mean it that way. I meant that when you're creating a song, are you doing it more or less at a sort of a subliminal level where you're letting your mind just flow?
No, my mind
you're
like that.
You're very conscious of each step, each word.
No, that's the difference in the songs I write now in the past year or so. The last year and a half, maybe 2, I don't know, but the songs before, up till one of those records, I wrote the 4th record in Greece.
I was thinking
so there was
of that
a change there. But the records before that, I used to know what I wanted to say before I used to write the song, you see. All the stuff which I had written before, which wasn't song, which is on a piece of toilet paper when it comes out like that. That's the kind of stuff I never would sing because people would, I know people just would not be ready for it. But I just went through that other thing of writing songs, and I couldn't write like it anymore. It was just too easy, and it wasn't really right. I would start out, I would know what I wanted to say before I wrote the song, and I would say it, And it never really would come out exactly the way I thought it would, but it came out, it touched it, But now, I just write a song, like I know that it's just going to be all right, and I don't really know exactly what it's all about, but I do know the minute and the layers of what it's all about.
What do you think about your song, It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding? happens to be my favorite one.
God bless you, son.
No.
I haven't heard it for a long time. I couldn't even sing it for you, probably.
How long did it take you to write?
It's usually not too long time, really. I might write all night and get one song out of a lot of different things I write.
Songs have you written?
How many have I written? I guess, well, there's one publisher that's got about 100. I've written about 50 others, I guess. I got about 150 songs I've written.
Have they all been published?
Well, no, no. Some of the scraps haven't been published. But I find I can't really sing that anyway because I forget it, So the songs I don't publish, I usually do forget.
Are you going to eventually take these scraps, as you call them, and make
No,
them
I've
into
forgotten
complete
the
songs?
scraps. I have to start over all the time. I can't really keep notes or anything like that.
But you can't go back to any earlier things and make them, use them in your...
No, that wouldn't be right either. Yeah, if it happens, That was a very, are you the same cat that was sitting over there?
On your songs, do you get any help from the rest of your entourage?
What?
Do you get any help from the group that you play with, or do you write your songs?
Robbie, the lead guitar player, sometimes we play the guitars together. Something might come up where I know it's going to be right. We just sitting around playing, so I can write up some words. I don't get any ideas though, any kind of ideas of what I want to, what's really going to happen here.
Geoffrey Giuliano is the author of some 30 internationally best-selling books on the Beatles, John Lennon, and other iconic musicians of the 1960s. In 2006, his book, Paint It Black, The Murder of Brian Jones, was made into a film by Stephen Woolley and Nick Powell entitled Stoned, The Wild and Wicked World of Brian Jones. It remains a cult classic and the only film bio of the Rolling Stones. Giuliano is also a veteran journalist, having written for dozens of high-profile newspapers and magazines, including The Sunday People, The Daily Mail, The News of the World, The Mail on Sunday, Playgirl, and Rolling Stone. A noted film actor, Giuliano starred in such movies as Vikingdom, Scorpion King 3, Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island, The Fifth Execution, Far Cry 3, Fire Desire, among many. In addition, he hosted the long-running North American syndicated radio series, Geoffrey Giuliano's Roots of Rock, for 5 years, as well as pioneering the audiobook industry in the 1990s by authoring, narrating, and producing over 250 original, non-book-based, interview-driven productions. Giuliano's publishers included Random House, HarperCollins, Delta Entertainment, Durkin Hayes, Playaway Audio, Speechworks, and B&B Audio, among dozens more internationally. In 1998, Random House acquired his firm Tribute Audio, for which Giuliano acted as CEO and publisher for 5 years. His best-selling audiobook, That Fateful Night, True Stories of Titanic Survivors in Their Own Words, was nominated for a Grammy. In 2014, Geoffrey Giuliano founded Icon Editions and G2 Media Arts to market his updated works as well as publish new projects. As a visual artist, Geoffrey has been showing in galleries across America since 1977, garnering impressive reviews. His first professional assignment was designing several T-shirts for The Who's Pete Townsend in 1976. Geoffrey also designed and illustrated many of his original rock biographies for the biggest publishers in the world from 1984 to 2006, as well as designing for his pioneering record label, Samba Records, in the mid-1990s. From 2006 to 2011, Geoffrey was also the primary designer for the French fashion house Cotai. When Giuliano first conceived of creating his own literary imprint, Icon Editions, he became responsible for illustrating and designing 35 book covers, several hundred CDs, DVDs, as well as dozens of promotional posters, and eventually an entire collection of exclusive fashion and art. The expansive Design by Giuliano brand grew out of Geoffrey's impressive commitment to the arts and is the culmination of a lifetime's work by an extraordinarily talented and determined Renaissance man.